for you this afternoon. My name is Anish. I'll be your moderator for this afternoon. Now, the word metaverse is actually a term that's been around for quite a while, mainly in gaming and crypto circles, but it became a corporate buzzword last year, overnight, when Facebook rebranded to Meta. Literally the next day, thousands of CXOs from all industries all over the world were scrambling to understand what the hell does this word metaverse mean, and what implication does it have for my business. Some large enterprises went a step further and actually started to make big strategic moves in the space. For example, Nike purchased Artifact, which is a creator of digital assets. Nike also partnered with Roblox to make Nike Land in the metaverse, where people could interact with their brand. Disney has appointed recently a chief metaverse officer. He's probably trying to figure out what his job is still, even though he was appointed a few months ago. On the other hand, Apple CEO Tim Cook is not impressed. Last week he said, actually, I don't think the metaverse is a very good term because no one knows what it means. So the key question is the metaverse just another corporate buzzword, like the fourth industrial revolution? Remember that? A couple of years ago, what happened to that? It's kind of disappeared, right? Is that the fate that the metaverse term has in store for it? Or is there real value to be created by enterprises? So joining me, we have a panel of experts. They've already been introduced, but let me reiterate. Ali over here is the CEO of GameIN. He makes games for enterprises related to the metaverse. Ahmad is a cop. Actually, no, he works for Dubai Police, but he's not a cop. And he's looking at new use cases for Dubai Police to use the metaverse. Keen to learn more about that. Gayathri is the head of Metaverse, so she's actually got a job title with the word Metaverse in it, and she's responsible for building Metaverse solutions for enterprises. So let's jump into it. Ready? The way we're going to do this is we're going to have a chat, and we're going to leave about 10 minutes at the end for questions. So guys, please pay attention, and I'm going to be asking you to get involved, because we're going to grill these guys until we get some answers. Happy? Comfortable? Yeah? Amazing. Great. Okay, fine. So let's jump into it. First of all, I would like to ask you, Gayathri, right, since you're the expert here, what is the metaverse? Can you give me a definition of it and tell me if it exists yet?
All right. It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks so much, Anish, for this question. And to answer this question, I have to slightly go back in time. What is a metaverse? So we did wonder a little bit a few months, if not years back, as to how do we define metaverse. And as Tim Cook has also said, there is no one single definition. Nobody who is a commoner can define metaverse yet. But each organization, each institution, each industry has its own definition of metaverse. What is it and how is it applicable is again left to each of the industries right now. If you ask me and the company I represent here, L&T Technology Services, which is Marvel in Engineering is what we stand for, we define metaverse as a parallel universe that we create using our 3D virtual spaces. And does it exist now? Yes, in pockets. Will it exist in the near future? Maybe in the next 3 years almost, or where it requires far more details, maybe the next decade, depending on the infrastructure that is in demand.
Interesting. Do either of you have an alternative definition you'd like to share? Ahmed, tafadhal.
Well, actually, the metaverse to any organization should be a concept. It should be a tool. And then your question to yourself as an organization would be how I can empower this tool to produce outcome.
But what is it?
Well, it's a combination of multiple technologies. If they bind together, they can create magic, in my opinion. So it's not a game, it's a game changer, okay? So if you take the metaverse, bundle it with a digital twin, and bundle it with conversational AI, for example, we are able to actually take our services and move it to the metaverse as a platform and break down all kinds of barriers, such as language barrier, time barrier, and geography barrier.
Right.
So that's an outcome that I'm looking for.
So you basically are a senior strategist at Dubai Police, and you're advising them on how they can use the metaverse. Can you give us some specific examples of how Dubai Police either is or is planning to use the metaverse in its operations? Something very simple that everyone can understand.
Yeah. I'm part of a team, first of all, in Dubai Police with 24,000 employees, and we are multi-teams. And I'll speak organizationally, not just as the Dubai Police. It's how to use the concept and the bundle to produce value for the city, so I can produce more safety, more happiness, more quality of life. So those are very specific KPIs that we measure. And how to use the metaverse to produce these things is a use case. For example, now, one specific use case would be to move the organizational services to the metaverse, using the metaverse as a platform, bundled with a digital twin or an avatar, which is fed information and fed all kinds of things, and it learns and it goes, and plus conversational AI. So then any person can log in as an avatar, and we've already heard a lot about this today. I can log in with my avatar, and I can choose the avatar from the organization, whether I want a male or female, dressed in a civil dress or a kandura or a police dress, and then I can interact and actually I can avail of any information or transactional services in the metaverse. What is the value for me? The value for me is I can speak in my own language, so that break down the language barrier. But one bigger value for me as an organization would be to govern the service, and the biggest point of it is I, as a user, I can have my digital book, so I can interact with the Dubai Police, for example, or any organization, and I have my whole history. So you're moving from customer journey to customer life journey, which is a big outcome.
Are you talking about a virtual police station?
This is a virtual police station, and any...
Does it exist yet?
Yes, of course. We have,
Can we use it? Can I use it now, for instance?
You can log in into our app and go to speak to Amna and avail of all our services.
And do I need a headset, VR headset?
You do not need a headset, and this is the whole point. I can't expect everyone to have a $600 set of Oculus to interact with us. So the point is, how much immersiveness do I really need to offer our customers?
But is it really metaverse then if it's not 3D?
Different levels of maturities. Okay, the point is right now, I mean, how mature is the metaverse and how much immersiveness do I really want to achieve? That's a big question to us. But at this point in time, we as an organization are looking at certain things such as reducing customer effort, reducing employee efforts, for example. Okay, so the metaverse works really well for us in that regard.
Interesting. Ahmad, I'd like to ask you, you're a technologist, you create solutions, gaming solutions for enterprises. Do you think that enterprises are able to exploit the metaverse today? And if not, what are the key obstacles? What are the key barriers for enterprise adoption?
Brilliant. So, very good question, and I would look at it from two different perspectives, right? The first question that you asked is gaming into the enterprise. And, when answering this question, I would relate to an earlier story that I had in the previous session, right? Where I gave a story about how the new generation is exploring the metaverse, right? And just building on top of what the panel has said, the definition of the metaverse, for me, it is the future of the internet, right?
Right.
As of today, I gave an example earlier. My son needs a dedicated budget for Roblox, right? He'd rather has that over the real life. So that's the mindset of the new generation. So let's establish this, right? You gotta understand that the new generation, they love to game. If you compare that from many perspectives, revenues, this is the new generation, this is the future workforce.
But now let's talk about enterprise adoption.
I'm coming to that. So remember that those are gonna be the people that are gonna be working in those enterprises. So you gotta cater for them, right? The reason I'm saying this, coming to your second question, right? The challenges. Are we there yet when it comes to the metaverse? When I believe in researches and data, right? So Citi published a report a few months ago that says that enterprises are not yet ready to move to the metaverse until 2025. Actually, just to be specific, 20% of enterprises will be able to join the metaverse by 2025, right? One, I'll break it down into three underlying causes, right? The people. So when we're talking about people, we're talking about adoption, resistance to change, right? Then you have the products. Do we have the right products in place, right? When I say products, I'm talking about the entire infrastructure. I'm talking about the headsets. I'm talking about the technology that goes beyond it. And finally, the processes, right? Processes that includes policies as well, from a regulation perspective, right? So those three, where we're looking to achieve in the metaverse and where we, as enterprises versus where we are today, from an infrastructure perspective, we're looking at it from people, process, right? And products, we're not there yet, right? I'll just put a list, take just one example at each one of those P's. People, they're looking at this, you've mentioned the majority of people, it's a $12 trillion total addressable market, and people are jumping to it without even still understanding what is the definition of it, right? That's one thing. So awareness, education, people, resistance to change, that's one thing. The processes, we are still trying to absorb the blockchain, how to regulate it. So now you're adding so many additional formulas to it that goes into an enterprise. As he mentioned, this is a sensitive topic in an enterprise such as Dubai Police. You're touching critical services that you cannot mess around. So regulation and processes is key here.
Let me just ask you a question now that you mentioned blockchain. Is blockchain a prerequisite for the metaverse? Does the metaverse have to have blockchain related to it? Or can you have a metaverse without blockchain?
That's a very good question. So I will give you my own answer. Probably some people will not agree with this, right? So I will differentiate the metaverse to be not relying on blockchain, right? If you want to go by the books, people define the metaverse as a virtual environment that has 3D objects, right? So if you want to talk into blockchain, we're talking more about Web 3.0, right? And my simplest way of differentiating those two, I know it goes beyond that, but I would say blockchain is more towards 3.0, and metaverse is with the transformation and including the 3D objects.
Gayathri, I'd like to come back to you now, okay, on this point. There's a big debate. If you ask Mark Zuckerberg, is the metaverse reliant on blockchain, he'll probably say no. He'll probably say Meta's version of the metaverse is a centralized metaverse, under full control of Meta. If you were to ask the crypto guys, Decentraland guys, the Sandbox guys, they will hate Facebook, they hate Meta. They don't want the metaverse to be centralized. For them, the metaverse and the whole point of the metaverse is user ownership, and the fact that it necessarily must be decentralized. Gayathri, what's your view? What do you think is going to end up happening? Are you going to have, like Web 2.0, where Facebook and Google and Apple command pretty much the whole market? Are we going to have a similar fate in the metaverse? And does it matter for enterprises?
Sure. So let me just take a step back, right? Let's first understand, I know there are experts here who've been doing blockchain for a living, right? So, and it's been there for a few years now, and we're talking, and there was a hype about blockchain, and then suddenly, there were challenges. We were not able to adapt blockchain the way we would have wanted to. And the reasons were its slowness, and then, it's very cumbersome to set up a blockchain. Whatever were the reasons not to adapt. But then why did we need a blockchain? One is, of course, the federated ledger system, right? Distributed ledger. But beyond that was also the security, right? The security that the blockchain provides. Now, if you think about it, right? Do I want to build a house which will have all the security alarms and all the possible implementations of keeping my house and the locker system within my house is a very high secure one? Or is it okay that I just build a house with some bare minimum security? The choice of the person who's assuming, and the analogy here is, if my house is my metaverse. If I'm building a metaverse, do I need to build it necessarily with such high performance security and stuff like that? Or can it just be a simple security that is fit for purpose and I can still go ahead and build something? Depends on the choice that I make, right? So, in my mind, like what Ali said, a blockchain is not mandatory. It depends on if you want it to be distributed, if you want it to be high secure, if you want all the security protocols to be there, the identification and access management protocols, the way blockchain defines it. If you want that, of course, yes, then please go for it if you want it federated. Otherwise, yeah, we are happy with the Facebook kind of a non-decentralized.
I'd say many people are not very happy with the fact that Facebook controls to the extent that they
So
do.
that's the choice we take, right? That's a choice.
Okay, so you think, we're not sure, some people will go for a centralized, other people will go for a decentralized one. Let's talk, Ahmad, about some of the human implications of this. You talked just now about having virtual assistants in your virtual police station. Do you envisage a situation where organizations will have virtual assistants that substitute real people, and therefore you start to see a significant increase in unemployment, and you actually have a virtual workforce that is performing work on behalf of an enterprise that is effectively unpaid because they're not humans. Do you envisage that type of thing transpiring, or do you think that ultimately you're going to have a human counterpart to every avatar?
Yeah, it depends on the use case and it depends on the outcome that I'm trying to drive. So the two types of things here. I can have my avatar, and for that I have to operate it in real time. So I have to jump on a metaverse platform and operate my avatar in real time. But if I make a digital twin of Ahmad, then I can launch that digital twin and have it as a conversational agent anywhere on any platform, and then that can be available 24/7, 365. Okay. So depending on the use case I'm trying to drive, in the very particular need for an organization. For example, now take for example an organization that has a headquarter and maybe 6 other places. Okay, so you can connect all of them together. We can have our avatars or our digital twins interacting together in meetings or producing value for the organization, doing the actual job. I give you the ability to sign on to your internal systems, and you can actually do whatever you want within that environment that I'm speaking of. So yes, I mean, it's a very valid use case, and actually doing virtual work now from anywhere around the world is not only a possibility, it's happening all around us. It's called the gig economy. Okay? And it's over 60 or 70 billion dollars already worth. You know, so.
If you look back at COVID, pre-COVID, the whole idea of remote work was not very, very common. Maybe some industries used to have it. I know management consultants, which I was one previously, was a big fan of remote work. But generally, everyone had to be in the office. Thanks to COVID, people realized actually remote work is a thing, and now many people work exclusively remotely. Okay, but they're that level of separation removed, if you like, from the organization. Now, if you look at the next iteration, imagine I create an avatar of myself. Could I get that avatar to do my job whilst I'm sitting on a beach somewhere? That avatar is now generating revenue for me, but I'm relaxing. What kind of implication does that have in terms of like enterprise workforce and talent management?
Can I take
Gayathri, you want to jump in?
Yeah. So I think the very thought of whatever you're saying is very scary, right?
I like the sound of it.
Yeah, because we just heard the previous speaker talk about digital twins, and again, I would like to differ with what he just said about creating digital twins. The kind of data that it will be consuming, is it even practical? And having an avatar or a digital twin do my job, and I'm having fun somewhere is a very scary thought.
What?
Because
Scary for who? For the employer, I guess.
no, scary for the person who's at the other end. So assume that,
Right.
I mean, how can you program my avatar or digital twin to that extent? Whatever AI, ML, deep learning, all that, neural networks, language, get in any technology you want, they're still figuring out how do you make your emotions download into the digital twin.
Sure, it's not going to be 100%.
Yeah.
We're getting
Yeah,
very close. We're getting very close to that kind of AI, right?
No, even if you get that, it is a very difficult thing is what the admission is by people who are in that research on neural networks. But the very point is, if I can create one like that, some years back there was this biological cloning that was possible. And then they stopped the whole thing because you possibly cannot have your clone, because then that leads to a lot of malpractices and the legal systems can be challenged. And hence, that was stopped. Same thing would happen if you're going to do the same or whatever you're suggesting as to, get your digital twin to do your job and let me go take a break, because you never know what the repercussions would be. Right? Would it still think the same way? Would it still react the same way? In fact, on a lighter note, we all might have seen some movies where there is a robot which comes to life and it is given human emotions.
Are you talking about the Terminator here?
No, I'm talking about a regional
okay.
movie back from India, because I don't forget my Indian movies. So if you, I'm sure there are movies like this. Yeah, so if the humanoid that we're creating starts interpreting things differently, then it becomes disastrous for the whole humankind. So I think first of all, legal systems and regulations would not allow that to happen. And if that happens, it's going to be a huge threat. So we should tread in the side path.
Let's see. I'm still going to try and make a virtual version of me. Let's go ahead.
I just wanted to add to what was highlighted right now. So there was an experiment that was done by Meta when it was called Facebook 2 years ago, and this is public. You can look it up online right now. Where they tried to actually go with a digital twinning to the next stage, right? With the data and AI and machine learning. And they said, all right, so if this works, we're revolutionizing the next generations. And what happened in between after months of experiments, let's call it digital twin or robot, became so smart that I started talking to the other robots in a language that humans do not understand. So coming back to the point that you highlighted, if it's not controlled, it can be dangerous, especially coming back to Ahmad and what they're doing, right? So there are certain areas that needs to be looked at and regulated and monitored. It is a two-edged sword, right? There's a lot of value and benefits for enterprises, but at the same time, it can go south.
Very interesting. Gayathri, I want to come back to you now. Let's talk about how enterprises, specific industries can benefit, right? Do you think that certain industries are better positioned to capitalize on the metaverse, whilst others might be threatened by it? Can you perhaps talk about that?
Sure. So before I go into that, I'll also tell you the thought process of when I come from the SI world. If you know what SI means, system integrators, right? So at LTT is the way we are, right? When we would strategize for our metaverse business unit, what we did was we kind of categorized. We are hardcore engineers at heart is what we call ourselves, and we're very proud of that. So we said we will have a solution team which will focus on engineering part of metaverses, which will focus on all the technologies that is needed for an engineering verse, if I may, right? And then we will have one for enterprise verse, all the enterprises and use cases to do with enterprises. And then we'll have a consumer verse, which is for the end consumer. So if you look at this configuration, answering your question, enterprises that would benefit. If I take let's take transportation as an industry, right? And then we pick maybe aerodynamics or industries that create aeroplanes or ships, shipbuilding industry. For these kind of industries where engineering is at the core, for building these ships, yeah, we might need to focus on the engineering verse of our solution offerings. But if it is going to be for the enterprise that is running this entire industry, so for example, let's take Boeing, or there are people involved. So for the enterprise, we will look at the enterprise verse of a solution set. And for the individuals who want to do banking, retail, stock trading, some of those things, let's just put that in the consumer verse. So we have divided it like this. Now, in industries that would benefit are typically the industries in our research which have high capital involved. So for me to build a ship, right, the capital is going to be very high. For me to build a plane, the capital is going to be very high. So when engineering is going to be very intensive for some industries, it makes sense for us to do digital twins. In earlier days we used, by the way, I strongly believe all this is old wine, new bottle in some of the cases, because we've had simulators, we have simulation techniques. We will take that to the digital twin, we'll take it to the AR, VR technologies, and we will cater to our engineering enterprises. So anywhere where there's capital intensive work that is involved, anywhere where there's scalability of the industry that is required, anywhere where repeatability is a must, all those industries will stand to gain.
What about industries that might be threatened? Would any of you like to comment on that? Not everyone's going to win in this game, right? Just like bookshops didn't do very well when Amazon came around, right? So someone's going to lose out here. Which industries do you think are going to suffer?
Well, I mean, let's first of all look at what you can do with the metaverse. You can be a metaverse developer, you can be a content builder, you can be a consumer. Which one are you? If we're looking at jobs, so we need to look at the level of job, low-level jobs, or medium or high-level jobs, and leadership, and so on. I'll give an example, okay? Let's say I'm a tour guide, okay, and I establish my own metaverse, and I load it with so many iconic sites. Eiffel Tower, or whatever. You could log in and I can take you on an immersive journey with a tour guide, personalized visits into the...
So what does that mean?
So that's a job, and I don't have to be available. I mean, I can be somewhere on the beach, like you said, and my digital twin
Should not
is
go to the
doing.
You don't like
I mean,
I'm
the
not
question is
liking
whether we
it
should
going
do it
to
or
the
not,
beach
that's
so
another
often.
question, but
Gayathri doesn't
it is
want to
actually,
go to the beach.
these are use cases that are
Yeah.
actually available right now and usable.
Ali, what about you? You work with lots of enterprises. Can you foresee any enterprises or industries getting, unfortunately disrupted or damaged by the metaverse evolution?
So, listen, I think we've learned through multiple cases that if companies do not adopt technologies in a rapid stage, right, they're going to become the next blockbuster, right? They're going to end up in a situation where they're unable to provide the same services because they're not innovative enough, right? Now, a couple of things that we need to look at, right? I'll support it by numbers. So we've done one of the companies that they're called EIMF. And they said we want to disrupt the learning industry. And, we got statistics saying this is the exact amount. We're looking at analysis, seasonality. This is how many courses I've delivered. I want you to create this platform for me in the metaverse, and I want to try to deliver those solutions in the metaverse, and I want to see the increase.
So you're talking about corporate learning and development.
Corporate learning, and just add this corporate learning along with certification.
Right.
So the disruption in this case is that the certification cannot be forged because it's on the blockchain, right? So they're ensuring that every certification that they're giving to their people is actually, signed off and cannot be forged. So they've actually, and we have this in a use case and we're going to publish it, they had an increase of around 22% because people have the appetite. They want to try the metaverse with new cases that are beyond, sexy and nice, things that they can actually use in the corporate world. And they've seen that this is an easier way, and the fact that it is cross-platform, that it goes not only on VR, because a lot of people are still hesitant whether they want to wear a headset for that long or not. It actually attracted more people. They tried it with a VR, and coming to the people, processes, and technology.
Right.
Now that the metaverse is cross-platform, there is more adoption. So it increased the number of sales for them.
If it's not enabled by VR, how is it any different from any online learning and development? What's the difference? Why is this metaverse versus any Web 2.0 type of learning and development platform?
I'll give you a very simple answer, right? We all use most of the common tools today, whether we're talking about Teams or Google Meets, etc., or Zoom. The amount of times we need to hang up, say, I cannot hear you, I cannot see you, where are you, this is the wrong link, etc. Imagine how easy it's going to be that I know that you're sitting here, this is your office. Anytime I want to reach out to you, I have an appointment, I'm not going to worry about the link, I'm not going to worry, I just need to walk into that room and you're there. Your digital twin is there.
No, but Ali, I think the whole point is, I'm sorry if I can just...
No, jump in, please.
For this to happen, right, latency is a very important thing, your 5G, your connectivity. So, what is happening today, are you there, am I audible, all of that can happen even in the metaverse. Let's be cognizant to that if your links and the internet connection is still going to be challenged.
That's a good point, but I'll relate two things, right? So just coming back to the latency, I'm a facts person. So the report that I was referring to earlier, they say that the reason behind only 20% of the companies moving to the metaverse in 2025 because of 5G evolvement. You need 12 milliseconds to be able to have a smooth transition into the metaverse, right? Now, what you're saying is absolutely right. You need that 12 millisecond to stay consistent. But at the same time, the usability, the use of access is going to become much easier than sending links, over, this is working, check out this room. It's a digital twin.
No, definitely. I'm just making a point that 5G becomes a very important building block. And without that kind of a latency, getting into the metaverse and having a real life experience is going to be
What else, DJ, do you believe is like critical success factors for the metaverse to work besides the 5G?
Before you answer that, I'd actually like to answer the audience a question. So, you guys still awake, yeah? Conscious? Brain dead? Good? Alright, fantastic. Put your hands up if you own a Oculus, Quest, or Rift, or Pico, or other such VR headset. Okay, so we're at the Metaverse conference, and you're seeing how few people actually have it. Now keep your hands up if you use that at least once a week. Okay, some die-hard people here, alright? And how many of you use it for work purposes? 3 or 4 people. So we're in a room of metaverse enthusiasts, and can you see how low the penetration is of this technology? How many years are we away until we get to a point where everyone in the audience puts their hands up when I ask who's got the headset? Like, give us a time frame, each of you. You guys are experts, you're all working in this space. Give us a time frame. What are we looking at?
If I can jump in and make
Well done.
a prediction. First of all, I just want to make a simple comment.
I just want a number in terms of the time, that's all.
Give me
Because I want some questions from the audience now, so
Give me
go ahead. Huh?
20 seconds, okay?
Okay,
No.
hold on.
Organizations, we have two things. We have key success factors or barriers to adoption. So that's, I think, that needs to be put in perspective. What is it that I really need to do to succeed, and what are my barriers? And definitely people and digital dexterity of the people, for example, to run the metaverse platform is definitely one of the biggest barriers, and maybe enough partnerships. I predict that within the next 3 to 5 years, there will be people, individuals, organizations owning accounts, just like you have Facebook and Instagram,
Right.
these things. Now we have the Facebook, so we can have an account, Instagram account, Twitter account, so on. So we will have a metaverse account, individuals and entities. It will be abundance, and all I have to do is sign up and then choose my avatar, my digital twin. I can work, I can do anything, I can commercialize concepts, and I believe it's only
3 to 5 years. Gayathri, what do you think? Just give me a time,
So
like a number.
for the people in this room and people who are, I'm assuming all of us can afford here. So yes, it could be 3 to 5 years. But for this to become a mobile technology kind of an access point to anybody and everybody, it's going to easily take a decade.
Right, yeah. Mobile took a decade. Smartphones took a decade, let's say, to get from early adoption to mainstream.
Yeah. So
Ali, what do you think?
It's a very tricky question to be
I know.
honest, right? So, because you gotta look at the entire world. There are certain countries nowadays that they do not even have smartphones yet, right? So I just gave you one example, and this is why I asked this question to you, just to look at what other dependencies do we have. We just mentioned one 5G, one infrastructure item, which is 5G, that is delaying
Yeah.
3 years of development on the metaverse, and this is not the only thing.
Yeah.
There's many others,
Graphic
right?
engines for
So I can throw a number out there, but it's not gonna be consistent on a global level. But I would say around 5 years until we see tangible results
Got it.
in the modern advanced countries,
Right.
right, that have the right infrastructure. For those that do not, it's a long shot, right? Very similar to cloud solutions back in the days, right? For many reasons. One, going back to the people process and
Sure.
and technology. You have, I'll give one example, then I'll hand it to you, right? From resistance perspective. Back in the days, I remember when I was a kid, I was having a discussion, with my grandma. My grandma used to hide the money under her pillow.
Like the what?
Under the pillow, she sleeps on top of it, right? That's for her. That's a safe spot,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Good luck convincing her that the bank is more secure, right?
Sounds like a crypto person.
There you go. That's another. So until you have people to accept this transition, that's also gonna take time,
Got it.
right? So it's going back to the 3 Ps, but please.
Yeah, yeah.
yep. But
So
I'll
look,
wait for him to.
We've actually got about 5 minutes left for questions, so I'd really like to take some questions from the floor. Yeah? Yes.
Hello. Hi. My name is Dr. Ali Ar-Rahma. I'm from Dubai Health Authority. I would like to first thank the panelists for the really nice discussion, and of course the moderator for popping the right questions. I would like to ask Ms. Gayathri about something she just mentioned earlier, which is the example of the house, and whether you need to separate the blockchain from the metaverse. And based on the, for example, enterprise requirements, you will add more security on it. So from public health perspective, I think for us maybe we might move slower, because for every step we're using real life data from patients, for example. So we don't want to compromise their data and their, for example, diseases and so on. So we might need to have full security with the blockchain integrated in metaverse. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, so the point is, that's why I said it depends on what is your use case. If you need high level of data security, then you have to take the right steps. if blockchain is the solution, then you have to use the idea of blockchain, what it offers, to configure your entire system around that, right? And I think you said health, right? So there is a lot of sensitive data that goes around it. So again, when you're configuring it, what part of the data is available to all and what needs to be protected needs to be a design element there, right? So while you need all the, at a blockchain I used in the house context, I just want to reiterate, it is more from a security point of view and not from a federated access point of view. From a federated access point of view, you still need to see who needs to access which part of the data. So your design has to handle that part as well. I hope I answered your question.
Can I add something, please? Okay, I mean, in metaverse, it can be a blockchain based or it can be VR based. Okay, depending on your use case, you're gonna have to decide. You can go hybrid as well, but policing the metaverse, keeping the data safe, and all of these things are all critical problems. The whole world has not even regulated or agreed on anything yet. We're probably going to need something like the United Nations happening before we can even regulate the metaverse.
Exactly. Do we have another question at all?
Yes, hello, how are you? My name is Eric, very nice to meet you, and thank you all for your time and presence. First and foremost, I really would like to just really help you align with regards to the comment you mentioned about smartphones. There's more people in this world that have access to smartphones than there is food. So this is something that I really advise you to pay attention to, especially when you're adding this type of information. And the access to technology is extremely formidable around the whole planet right now. And so this is something that, especially when it comes to collective consciousness and being aware of the metaverse, I think that it is on a lot faster podium than 3 to 5 years. So focusing on this when it comes to enterprise, and specifically the Dubai Police, which I love about safety, happiness,
Do you have
and
a question?
quality of life. I'm getting to it right now.
Please do.
As we continue to go through a platform economy into the creator economy, I really love the fact that you focused on, making sure that malpractice is something that's not tangible and that we're focusing on a moving forward basis. So I'd love to know, when you focus on leadership as a collective right here in the philosophy of enterprise, what do you feel the Dubai Police and the enterprise as a whole, maybe the whole podium can really confirm this, is where is the curiosity in what we need to do for leadership so that we are informed and we're influencing from a perspective of leading from this real informed education? Thank you.
I'll let one of you answer that. You've got 30 seconds to answer it because we need to leave time for some other questions. Who wants to go for it? 30 seconds, please.
I mean, I can't speak for leadership, and Dubai Police is an organization. I'm here just to shed some lights and share knowledge. But leadership plays a major role in whether we adopt or don't adopt, whether we move all of our services to the metaverse or we don't move that. Policing the metaverse, like I said, it's one of the biggest issues that we're facing at this point in time. For us as Dubai Police, for example, the fact that it's a decentralized kind of platform is also a big problem. We're still not even able to move to the cloud. We're regulated by Dubai government not to be on the cloud, for example. So we have to have our own sovereign cloud or a private cloud. So there's a lot of issues here. Leadership, however, Dubai Police is pushing 100% towards that. Sheikh Hamdan, His Highness Sheikh Hamdan right now wants 40,000 jobs to happen in the metaverse in the next 5 years. Now, we as organizations, there are 58 organizations in Dubai government, will have to play a role in producing those 40,000 jobs or playing a role in it. Sheikh Hamdan wants to start measuring, instead of gross domestic product, he wants to measure gross metaverse product. So this is leadership, okay? And there's no, you cannot say no, and you have to be driven right behind that leadership, because that leadership has a vision, okay? And the vision is to transform Dubai into the number one city in the metaverse. And the actions are all there. There's VARA, there's the metaverse strategy, and all kinds of things happening.
Do we have time for just one more question, please? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, when you talk about this mass adoption of metaverses by people and corporations, which type of metaverse do you believe the most? Will it be the closed ones, like Roblox or Meta, and any corporation could be blocked there, just if Meta don't like them, or you more believe that it will be open metaverse?
So we touched upon this, but let's circle back to it. Do we think the metaverse necessarily has to be centralized or decentralized, or can we not answer that question yet? I'll give it to Gayathri to take.
Sure, and I have 0 seconds to answer.
Yeah, we'll give you 10 seconds to
Yes,
answer.
thank you. So, this is completely my views. I think like internet, we can have one internet, one metaverse, may not fly. Maybe you can call it one metaverse from a conceptual point of view, but from an implementation point of view, the organizations will decide which has to be decentralized within the organization and focus only on the requirements of the organization. If 2 organizations come together and say, let's build one common metaverse, that should also be possible. So as we speak, leaders are deciding some regulations around how this should happen. Once that definitions come out, I think this should be an easier question and problem to tackle. Question to answer and problem.
Tough question. Don't think anyone's got an answer for that just yet. Guys, thank you very much. Please join me in giving a round of applause for our panelists.